Hi everybody, angryponcho here. Sorry to interrupt the narrative flow. I just wanted to give you guys a little decision I made. I'm gonna tune down the voices just a bit. The great variation in pitch, graveliness, nasaliness, and just the general range of the different voices that I picked out for these characters has been kicking my ass and making it so I can't record more than one video at a time, because by the end of it, my voice is killing me because I don't have any vocal training and I don't know how to do these voices properly. So I'm going to tone it in just a little bit. And so if you notice the voices are a bit different in this video, I'm just doing versions that are easier on my throat. Thank you for your understanding. Now enjoy the video. Junpei and his companions ran out of the casino and into a large open room. A room, in fact, that they had been in once before. There was little to surprise them there. They already knew what their next step had to be. The iron gate still stood in place, locked tight, blocking the stairway. In the center of the gate was the keyhole, engraved with the Venus symbol. This time, however, Junpei had the Venus key in his pocket. Wasting no time, he pulled it out and shoved it into the keyhole. He turned it. With the distinctive sound of metal on metal, he felt the lock click open. Alright, let's get this thing open. No problem. Let me help with this one. Junpei grabbed the handle on the left side and Seven took the handle on the right. On Junpei's signal, they both pushed, and the gates creaked open. It sounds as though you have opened it. We should be able to reach C deck now, I imagine. Snake, are you going to be alright? I mean, the stairs. Please, do not do yourself the embarrassment of underestimating me. I would be unlikely to trip, even if I were running backwards. Good to hear. Let's move. At Seven's words, they leapt onto the stairs and jogged quickly down them. In no time at all, they found themselves on C deck. Junpei ran down the stairs a little farther, in hopes of checking on the deck below. When he reached the water, he called back up to Snake and Seven. Just what I thought. D deck is completely underwater. Just like the bottom of the central staircase. The surface of the water below them was flat like a mirror. That it had not changed too greatly since they'd last seen it was a great relief. Junpei quickly retraced his steps and headed back to C deck. In front of the stairs were a pair of elevators. They appeared to be identical to the ones from the upper floor. Between them, attached to the wall, was another card reader. And next to that was another strange symbol. Hey, check it out. It's the symbol for Lotus. What? See? It's got the woman symbol, and it's got the devil horns, right? Yeah, I see it. No two ways about it. That was a pretty good one, kid. Seven tousled Junpei's hair in what he likely thought to be a friendly manner. Junpei feared his neck might break, even though it was clear Seven had kept his strength in check. Thankfully, Snake interrupted. After Junpei's observation, he'd gone over to examine the card reader. This is a Mercury symbol. The marks you mistook for horns are a stylized version of the wings and staff of Hermes. Wings and staff, huh? So she beats you with the staff until you die and go to heaven? Sounds like Lotus, all right. Seven shook Junpei's head even more vigorously, and the younger man began to feel as though his brain was being jostled about inside of his skull. He began to feel rather ill. Unless we can activate this device, I doubt the elevator will function. In other words, we gotta find a keycard with a Mercury symbol on it. So I would assume. They decided to leave the elevators alone for the time being, and headed back to the stairs. To the left was another hallway. There were a great many doors lining both sides of the hallway. They seemed to stretch on forever, and all three men suddenly felt very small. Oh shit, we're not gonna have enough time to check all of these, are we? Maybe we can come back here later. Let's check out the other side. They turned around and went back the way they'd come. To the right of the stairs, another hallway stretched out, reaching deep into the bowels of the ship. After a few moments of moving briskly down the hallway, they emerged into an area roughly the same size and shape as the one at the top of the stairs. On the left side of the room were 4 French doors. Well, let's open them up. Junpei nodded and grabbed the one closest to him. He gave it a small tug and felt it move. It was unlocked. Thrilled to have found another unlocked door, he threw it open. Junpei didn't know what to make of what he saw. He simply stood, unable to speak. Seven's eyes opened wide and his mouth gaped. After a few long moments, Seven at last managed to speak. Hey, what is this place? A massive room stretched out in front of them, more a cavern than a room. Its vastness was oppressive, and it bore down on Seven and Junpei. It was not empty, however. The entire room was filled with lines upon lines of beds. They were simple things, little more than pipe and thin mattresses. Is this a hospital? He had at last been able to put a name to the harsh scent that pervaded the room. The room was full of the clean smell of antiseptic solution. In the center of the room were shelves stacked with medicine and a number of medical devices, the function of which Junpei did not know. More importantly, however, on the back wall of the room were 4 doors. 3 of them were emblazoned with large, single-digit numbers, made with thick, red paint. The door on the left was labeled 3. The second door from the left had no number, but the third had been given a 7. The door on the right bore an 8. There could be no doubt. They were numbered doors. It did strike Junpei as strange, however, that the door between 3 and 7 should be blank. What, he wondered, could it mean? Let's take a look at those doors. Yeah, good idea. The 3 of them threaded their way through the beds, toward the back of the room. Upon reaching them, they proceeded to investigate each door in turn, but to no avail. Yep, locked, just like I thought. Naturally. After all, there are rules to the nunnery game, and to allow these doors to open easily would violate those rules. Unless we can authenticate ourselves with the red, the numbered doors will... Whoa, check this out. Suddenly Seven spoke up, interrupting Snake. Look at the red. There's nothing on it. Huh? Don't you remember the red back at the main staircase? If there wasn't anyone in it, it said vacant on the little screen, remember? Oh yeah, I guess you're right. But this one... There's nothing. Right? You think it's broken? Only one way to find out. Junpei and the others put their hands on the panel, but nothing happened. The red refused to change. They tried pulling the lever, and still nothing. As they soon discovered, it wasn't only the red on door 8 that seemed to be malfunctioning. The red on door 7 and the red on door 3, none of them worked. What, they wondered, did it mean? They've got to be broken. Man, that bastard. I didn't think Zero was the kind of guy who'd screw around with something like this. Whoa. Zero's been prepared for everything so far, and you're saying he's gonna make a mistake now? Well, the only thing I could think of. This thing ain't working at all. While Junpei and Seven talked, Snake busied himself with examining the red. After a time, he lowered his hands and spoke. It seems as if some of the internal hardware has been removed. Internal hardware? That is what I said. Take a look at the underside of this red, if you please. Junpei obliged and bent over to look at the underside of the device. A long, thin slit ran along the bottom of it. As he looked harder, he realized it was more of a slot than a slit, and that it was clearly meant to accommodate some manner of electrical device. The other 2 reds were the same. Something had clearly been removed from all 3 of them. I get it. So the reds aren't working because somebody pulled out their guts. So, I assume. But why? And who? I mean, it doesn't really make sense. I have no idea. Why on earth would I know something like that? Just then, they heard the sound of a door opening. The three of them turned and saw... Akane! Oh, no, Junpei thought, it's... June! She stopped short, surprised to see them, and was very nearly bowled over by the rest of her companions who were coming through the door behind her. Ace, Santa, Clover, and Lotus all poured out of the door, each of them as surprised as the last to see Junpei, Snake, and Seven. Junpei and Seven were, for the moment, at a loss for words. What are you guys doing? Why are you... After a moment of silence and surprise, everyone suddenly began to talk, desperate to exchange information. They talked about the rooms they'd been through, and how they'd ended up in the same place. Of course, none of it was very useful information, but that hardly mattered. They were happy to simply see one another again. Although the level of cheer varied greatly from person to person, each one of them was wearing some manner of smile. Almost as though they had already forgotten about the death of the ninth man. No, thought Junpei, perhaps that wasn't it. Perhaps thoughts of his death were what drove them to smile at one another. Not in a morbid or hateful way, no. The ninth man had died. But they were still alive, and that was something to be happy about. A sort of simple, uncomplicated joy, Junpei thought. The joy of being alive. Still alive. He felt sorry for the ninth man, but more than anything, Junpei was just happy to be alive. This is bad, though. If the red isn't working, we can't keep going. What about that big hallway? Maybe there's somewhere in there we might be able to go. No, there's nothing there. The five of us had a quick look. There were a great many rooms, although none of them appeared to have held patients for quite some time. Patients? You mean all those doors are for hospital rooms? Yes. Apparently, they have a number of individual rooms, in addition to this large central room. There was a door down at the end of this hallway, too, but it was locked. It had one of those solar system marks on it. It was the Jupiter symbol. Jupiter. I wonder what it means. Confusion seemed to be the consensus. That reminds me, what's the deal with this big room anyway? What is this thing? Was this some kind of huge passenger ship? No one, not even Snake, appeared ready to offer an answer, until Seven unexpectedly spoke up. I bet it's a hospital ship. In fact, it's probably the Gigantic. The Gigantic? Junpei looked at Seven, shocked both by his knowledge and the apparent identity of their prison. He was not the only one. What's the Gigantic? Seven nodded to Lotus and began to speak. The Gigantic. He explained that she had been a sister ship to the Titanic, built in the early 20th century. The Titanic had two sister ships, who were identical to one another in nearly every aspect. The Gigantic was said to be one of them. She was initially intended to be a passenger liner, like the Titanic, but soon after the ship was launched, the First World War began, and she was pressed into duty by the British Navy as a hospital ship. Sometime later, the Gigantic was damaged by a German mine in the Aegean Sea. She managed to run aground after the incident, and consequently was not sunk. What then happened to the Gigantic after her fateful counter in the Aegean Sea? One theory ran that a man named Lord Gordain purchased her. Lord Gordain, it seemed, had been one of the few survivors of the Titanic tragedy, and that trauma had turned him into an obsessive collector of all things related to the Titanic. As his obsession deepened, he began to desire the Titanic itself. That, of course, was impossible. The Titanic lay at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The Gigantic, however, had not suffered such a dire fate, and as she was identical to her sister ship, she caught Lord Gordain's eye. So you're saying this Lord Gordain bought this ship? Yeah, at least I think I am. That's impossible. No way we're in some boat that's almost 100 years old. Pipe down, just pay attention. What, that's it? Well, have you got any proof? Proof? Proof that this ship is really the Gigantic. Well, this ship's got stuff that's like the Titanic and a hospital ship. So I just figured... Oh, for goodness. Don't tell me that's your only reason. No, I've got more. Like? Well, I mean... Seven looked around desperately, doing anything to avoid meeting Lotus's piercing stare. He scratched his head for a moment and then gave up. Finally, he opened his mouth. I don't know. Lotus sighed and shook her head. I guess your memory isn't back yet, is it? No, sorry. Then, almost as if to save Seven from further embarrassment, a bell began to ring from far away. It sounded as though it was the clock at the main stairway. Junpei counted each chime carefully. It's midnight. Then we still got 6 hours left, right? Let's just get moving. We gotta find that hardware that the Reds are missing. That's all well and good. But where are we going to look? We already searched the big patient room. They had been examining the room as they talked. But we haven't found anything. Right. Well, there's only one thing left to do. Just one? Well, not just one. Wait a minute. Are you telling me we have to search all of these rooms? Well, you already checked some of them out before you came here, right? We each checked a single room, so 5 rooms in total. Alright then, that's 5 rooms we don't have to search. If we split up, it won't be that bad. If each of us can do 6 rooms apiece, we'll have the other 48 rooms cleared in no time. There are 48 other rooms? Lotus did not seem excited by the prospect. Seven fidgeted nervously before responding. Maybe? After some discussion, the 8 of them decided which rooms to begin with, and in what order they would go. Junpei was chosen to search the rooms on the starboard side, moving from fore to aft. They also determined when they would return to report their findings, the next time the clock sounded the time. When it did, they would meet back in the large central room full of beds. If, during their search, any one of them were to locate the missing components, they were to yell for the others. If this strategy failed, they'd return to discuss their options later. The details decided, they left to begin searching. Out into the hallway they went, each to the rooms they'd been assigned. However, from far away, Junpei heard the bell ring. It did so only once. It was 1 a.m. And now, zip-a-doo-doo-doo, whoa, everything we've seen before. Okay, so now we're getting into territory that's being repeated. I've been hitting the right key occasionally to see at what point the plot lines split. So, a quick narrative check here. At the beginning of the game, okay, we've read this already. At the beginning of the game, you go through rooms 4 and 5, and we've shown both of those now. Obviously, since you've seen both past, and you've played through it, this is now the second playthrough, you know that everybody ends up meeting up back in this hospital room. And that's the point where things sort of merge back together, and now we're getting some repeated stuff. This is our first example of repeated dialogue from our first playthrough. It shows up in yellow like this, so if you scroll back up through the text pages, and if I just keep holding the right key, it'll keep zipping through at high speed like this. I'm not fast forwarding, this is real time. And so basically, we're going to fast forward through all of the stuff that is going to be repeated from the last playthrough, and I'll just give you a short summary of it over the fast forwarded bit, or at least enough of it for me to tell you what happened, and we'll skip ahead to the next part where I make a different decision. After returning from their search of the hospital rooms down the long hallway, the group reunites to find that the Reds are operational again. Inexplicably, no one will claim to have repaired them. There's also an additional problem. Snake has gone missing. The group splits up again to search all the parts of the ship that they still have access to. They looked everywhere they could think of, but Snake was nowhere to be found. Then, Lotus has a proposal for the group. She states that if they leave someone behind, the remaining 6 can pass through doors 7 and 8. Ace half volunteers and half forces the group to leave him behind by dosing himself with a sedative drug. As the group is deciding how to split up, 7 claims door 7 and Lotus claims door 8. Junpei, which door do you want? We're going to choose door 7. I think I'm going to go with door 7. Okay, 7 it is. Yeah. Alright then, that means June's got to go through 8. What? Why? What? Santa grimaced and muttered angrily to himself, but finally began to explain. If the 6 of us are going to keep going without leaving anyone behind, there are only 3 ways we can do it. Plan A. Go through door 7 with 358 and go through door 8 with 467. Plan B. Go through door 7 with 457 and go through door 8 with 368. Plan C. Go through door 7 with 367 and go through door 8 with 458. And that's it. Those are our only options. In other words, if 3 and 4 and 7 and 8 can never go through the same doors. You get it now? As Santa finished, June looked over at Junpei, tears welling up at the corners of her eyes. Oh no. You're saying we aren't going to see each other again for a long time. Junpei felt as June did. He wanted to be at her side through whatever trials they were preparing to face. But he knew if they were to survive, he had to swallow his feelings. In order for the 6 of them to move forward, he and June had to be separated. He looked at June. He was scared to lose her, but he swallowed, steeled his resolve, and did his best to smile. Hey, come on, you're making it sound like we're never going to see each other again. We gotta split up. But only for a while. This is just like when we went into the 4 and 5 doors, remember? We gotta split up then too, but we all met back up. I bet 7 and 8 are just like that. You mean they're connected somewhere? Yeah, probably. Probably. She didn't sound very hopeful. It was 7 that interjected. I'm sure they're gonna connect somewhere. Why? What makes you think so? If they don't connect, neither team can get through door 9. In other words, the game would end right there. Zero's been on top of his shit so far. I don't think he'd blow it now. I'm damn sure that son of a bitch wants to have his fun as long as possible. He's not going to end this game until we get through the door 9. June said nothing. The tears were gone, but her eyes were still sad as they looked at Junpei. He met them, and with what reassurance he could manage, laid his hand gently on her shoulder. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to see each other again. I promise. June bit her lip and gave him an almost imperceptible nod. Yes. Promise? Her voice was barely above a whisper. Santa's voice chattered the moment. Yawn! You guys are done, right? He stretched and continued. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Clover and I will go into separate groups. I figure I'll take 8, Clover can take 7, any problems with that, Clover? Clover looked away and was silent for a moment. Whatever. It was more of a dismissal than an agreement, but Santa didn't seem to care. Alright, we're ready to go then. Let's move. At Santa's command, the group split and headed for their respective doors. Clover, 7, and Junpei walked toward door 7. Santa, Lotus, and June headed for door 8. For a long moment, they stood in front of the door. 7 took a deep breath. You guys ready? Yeah. Yes. Alright, let's go. The door had opened. A narrow hallway stretched out before them. 7 and Clover leapt through the door. The moment they did, their bracelets beeped. The detonators in the bracelets had been activated. Junpei stepped forward to follow them. But as he was about to step over the threshold, he stopped. He looked to his right, toward door 8. June stood there, a mirror image of Junpei. She turned and looked toward him. Their eyes met. They nodded. Their farewell took almost 1.5 seconds. Then someone took hold of Junpei's arms and hauled him bodily through the door.